The movie starts off evolved in 1966. The plays Benny Carson is a principal pupil in Detroit who is regularly mocked for his beneath common performance in school. One day whilst being bullied by way of its classmates, Benny retaliates and hits one of the youngsters in the head. As a result, his mother, Sonia Carson, is called into the principal's office. After leaving the office, Ben complains about being dumb, but Sonia says he is a clever boy who can do a lot better if he works harder. Sonia then again worries about his future, questioning if he does no longer excel in his studies, he might cease up doing peculiar jobs, something she does now not prefer for her sons, Ben and Curtis, while helping Ben with his studies. Sonia realizes he is having trouble seeing and arranges a pair of glasses for him, which helps him enhance his grades. Ben frequently complains about not having sufficient intelligence like his fellow pupils, however Sonia constantly encourages him to concentrate on his studies. Once Ben attends Sunday prayers at a church where the pastor shares the story of a missionary doctor who would deal with poor sufferers in spite of dealing with loss of life threats from the king. This story moves him and Ben decides to emerge as a missionary physician himself. Meanwhile, Sonia, who regularly receives depressed questioning about her husband, visits the psychiatrist and shares the story of being raised in foster care before marrying Carson at the age of 13. She and Carson had been dwelling a joyful lifestyles with her sons till she found out about his first marriage and another kid. Although she tried to compromise, things acquired too hard, ultimately leading to their divorce. She now cleans and babysits to cover her family's expenses. Sonia also reveals she is illiterate and fears her sons may quit up the identical as her after mastering of her suicidal tendencies. The physician suggests she spends some time in the clinic while having dinner with the boys at night. She tells them about being away for a few weeks, however hides the truth that she'll be in the hospital. She reminds them to find out about tough, as she thinks it's the solely choice that can alternate their lives for the better. After Sonia moves to the hospital, Ben continues his promise of working hard and steadily improves his educational performance, eventually getting an A for the first time when Sonia comes domestic and Ben shares the appropriate information with her. She is very proud of him. After a while, Sonia receives a new cleaning job at Professor Burke's house, who has a huge collection of books. Impressed through his knowledge, Sonia comes up with a notion to boost analyzing habits in her sons. Returning home, she announces she will reduce off their display time and they will have to visit the library and finish 2 books each week. Although Ben and Curtis protest in opposition to this, Sonia indicates no symptoms of leniency. After being dragged to the library for the first time, Ben step by step starts enjoying it and frequently reads to his mom, as well as he reads books on exceptional topics. It enhances his knowledge, which helps him in his studies as well. His newly observed hobby does now not simply stew his classmates, however his instructors as well. Ben impresses his teacher with know-how about rocks, who then suggests him some specimens beneath a microscope and introduces him to a complete new world with time. Ben excels in his studies while Sonia starts taking studying instructions from Professor Burkett. After pursuing the ardor for reading, Ben and his brother have a handful of knowledge on exclusive subjects, which assist them successfully answer exceptional questions in quiz programs, making them recognize the importance of studying. Ben, now in 8th grade, receives the Perfect Achievement Award, proving that he can do something he wants. Although he enjoys his reward, the scenario receives excessive of the ceremony. After his trainer discriminates towards him, due to the shade of his skin, the incident makes Sonia use her saved cash to pass her sons to Chicago. Now at High College in Chicago, Ben, once again, faces mockery due to his historical clothes. He needs new ones from Sonia, but she would not have any cash left. The next day of school, Ben stands up to a bully, Carl, who befriends him after being impressed by means of his courage. This new friendship, however, leads Ben into horrific company. As Carl buys him a knife after coming home, Ben finds Sonia has organized new clothes for him, however he does not like them at all and starts questioning about using his knife. The next morning, Ben refuses to put on the new garments and receives into an argument with his mom in which he tries to assault her with a hammer. But Curtis intervenes and stops him. Ben's temper worsens with time and he alternatives a combat with Carl, stabbing him in the stomach. Although Carl survives, the incident shocks Ben. After dashing home, Ben realizes his mood might get him into serious bother someday. So he prays to God whilst attempting to calm himself down. 4 years later, and Ben is now enrolled in Yale University, where he participates in extraordinary things to do whilst reading medicine. Whilst attending lectures, he is intrigued through the stunning workings of the human brain and decides he wishes to be a talent surgeon. When he shares his plans with Sonia, she encourages him to pursue his passion, reminding them that he is capable of doing something he wants. Although Ben got into Yale on a scholarship, he finds it challenging to preserve his grades. When he discusses a situation with his girlfriend Candy, she advises him to use his energy in reading. Instead of focusing on lectures, Ben loves her thought and devotes his time to understanding the ideas of chemistry by analyzing books and notes. Instead, after months of tough work, Ben takes the examination and secures an A, which he dedicates to Sweet and asks her to marry him. After finishing his degree, Ben shows up for an interview for a surgery residence at Johns Hopkins and amazes the medical doctor with his understanding and ardor, securing himself a placement at his dream hospital. Ben begins his expert career with the goal of helping humans in need. And he enjoys his work. One day, a significantly injured patient is brought to the hospital, but with none of the senior neurosurgeons on duty, Ben reluctantly decides to operate the surgical operation on his own. After a successful operation, he is known as into the doctor's workplace, who is not comfortable with Ben for going towards protocol, but admires him for making a selfless choice to retailor a human life. Instead of disturbing about his job, this incident proves to be the starting point of Ben's thriving clinical career. By 1985, Ben has ended up the chief of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins and efficiently handles seemingly impossible instances whilst playing a happy married existence with Candy. A young female named Cynthia suffering from extreme seizures is delivered into the hospital. And after examining her case, Ben comes up with the notion of doing away with the left hemisphere of her brain. The surgical treatment turns out to be some other success in his profession, as Ben perfects hemispherectomy to deal with different sufferers and gains massive media insurance for his offerings to neurosurgery. Meanwhile, Sonia visits to spend some time with her grandchildren and to assist Candy, who is pregnant with twins. Candy's case then again becomes difficult after she experiences heavy bleeding and is rushed to the hospital. Although the medical practitioner be triumphant in saving her life, they lose their unborn twins. After recuperating, Sonia advises him to rejoin the hospital, as there are many other patients who want him to. Once on duty, the doctor briefs him about a case of conjoined twins in Germany and requests he deal with them. Even though such instances in no way survived the separation, the doctor is nonetheless one to strive, because otherwise the youth would now not have full lives. Although undecided, Ben nevertheless flies to Germany and meets the twins' parents, Peter and Augusta Rasch, while attending to her kids. Augusta tells Ben that, although she knew a higher kid's circumstance at some point of pregnancy, she may want to not abort them, understanding that the doctors may not be in a position to store both kids. Peter begs him no longer to ask them to pick between their sons. After analyzing the twins, Ben discovers that they are not sharing any critical organs, however may have some problems due to their conjoined brains, although certain that he can separate their brains. Ben is nonetheless unsure about the trouble of excessive bleeding that might claim their lives. So he flies again to the US, deciding to maintain off on the surgical treatment as he does no longer want to take any risks again at home. As Ben takes care of his own sons, he thinks about these helpless parents earlier than informing his senior that he is geared up to do the operation. After getting the green light, Ben starts his lookup to find a way to shop both of the kids. While thinking about this surgery, Ben remembers his personal lost twins and shares his emotions with his mother. Sonia urges him to go beforehand with his surgery. Last, he remorseful about now not trying. She, once more reminds him that he is capable of doing something as lengthy as he sees beyond his vision. Ben decides to go ahead with the surgery and gathers a group of neurosurgeons, plastic surgeons, anesthesiologists, and cardiovascular surgeons, asking them to rehearse each step of the operation. After the preliminary preparations, he invitations Peter and Augusta and their sons to Johns Hopkins for the surgery, explaining the process to the parents. Ben says they will have to stop the kid's heart throughout the surgery so they do not lose blood. While the doctors reconstruct their veins after separation on September 5, 1987, the team starts to evolve this first of his variety surgical procedure to separate conjoined twins. After a nerve-wracking 21 hours, Ben succeeds in saving both the youngsters and shares the proper information with their dad and mom, who are overwhelmed whilst all people admires him. Ben, thanks his mom and his spouse for believing in him and shares his achievements with the media. The epilogue displays that the twins survived and moved again to Germany, the place they're nonetheless alive today. Ben went on to function various other profitable surgical procedures on conjoined twins, and it's due to his pioneering efforts that hemispherectomy is a widely well-known manner to deal with seizures. Apart from his positive medical career, Vin and Candy also founded the Carson Scholarship Fund to reward the tutorial excellence of deserving college students. Now is all from the video.